In most families, parents are in charge, but in our house, my grandmother was the real boss, and she deserved it. She built our family's fancy tableware store from nothing and made it successful. Your grandmother has an eye for beauty, my dad would say when customers praised our collection. My parents ran the store, but everyone knew Grandma was still in control. She had retired, but she hadn't given up power. My little brother, Daniel, was treated as the future boss from the moment he could walk. He needs to learn the business, my mom would say, while ignoring me. It didn't matter that I got straight A's while Daniel barely touched his school books. Who needs to be smart to run a store? Daniel would joke while playing video games. I just need to count money. Our parents would laugh, but I sat at the table, working hard on my math homework. Luckily, I had Grandma. Every weekend, we played business games, where she taught me how to run a store, things like managing inventory, serving customers, and making a profit. If we bought this crystal wine set for $200 and sold it for $500, how much is the profit margin? She'd ask. 60%, I'd answer quickly, but we should count our costs too, right? She'd smile proudly, you understand business better than most adults. Those lessons inspired me. While my parents focused on Daniel, I decided I'd study business in college. Forced to work, when I turned 14, my life changed. One evening, my parents sat me down. My dad looked serious. Jennifer, it's time to stop being lazy and start working at the store after school. The next day, while Daniel went home to play, I was at the store cleaning, organizing, and helping customers. I worked hard, often staying late to make everything perfect. After 3 months, I noticed something unfair. Every Friday, the employees got paid, but I didn't. One night, I gathered my courage and asked my parents, I work just as hard as the others, shouldn't I get paid too? They exchanged a cold look. Paid? My dad scoffed. Do you know how much we spend on you? Food, clothes, a house? That's your payment. My mom added, many kids would be grateful for this arrangement. I was shocked. That night, I made a decision, I wouldn't let them control me. My first job, I secretly got a job at a cafe. The manager, Sarah, was kind and fair. Every Friday, I got a paycheck, and for the first time, I had my own money. I bought a phone, some new clothes, and little gifts for Grandma. You shouldn't spend your wages on me, she'd say, smiling. It hurt to lie to her about still working at the store, but I needed my independence. Planning my future. By senior year, my grades were perfect. My teachers suggested top universities, but I knew my parents wouldn't pay for college. I also didn't want to ask Grandma for help. Instead, I found out that our city college had a great business program with full scholarships. I applied and got in. The morning before graduation, Grandma surprised me with a new laptop. For my future businesswoman, she said, hugging me. The final betrayal. At our graduation dinner, I told my parents, I got a full scholarship to City College's business program. My dad smirked. Well, that saves us money. Then my mom added, now that you're an adult, we need to talk about rent. I froze. What? You need to pay rent if you want to keep living here, my dad said. I laughed, thinking they were joking. They weren't. I looked at my parents in shock. I'm your daughter, I said. My mom stayed firm. You're an adult now, we're not responsible for you anymore. If you want to live here, you have to pay rent. My mind spun. What about Daniel? I asked, looking at my brother. Will he have to pay rent when he turns 18? My parents wouldn't meet my eyes. That told me everything. Of course, Daniel wouldn't have to pay. He was their favorite. That's different, my dad muttered, not bothering to explain. This is insane. I pushed back my chair. This is my home, too. My mother's patience snapped. No, it's our house. If you won't pay, you have to leave, tonight. Tonight? I repeated in disbelief. You have until 10 p.m. to pack, my dad said, then calmly went back to eating. Tears blurred my vision as I ran upstairs and stuffed clothes into bags. My hands shook so badly I could barely zip them. College didn't start for months. Where was I supposed to go? Grandma, she would help me, but when I called, her phone went to voicemail. Then I remembered, she had left for Hawaii yesterday. She'd be gone for 3 weeks. I couldn't ruin her vacation. Wiping my tears, I scrolled through my contacts and found Jenny's number. 20 minutes later, I was loading my bags into her car, leaving the only home I'd ever known. As we drove away, I saw my parents watching from the window. Their faces were blank. In that moment, I knew the truth, I had never really mattered to them. A new routine. For 3 weeks, I stayed at Jenny's house. I woke up early, worked long shifts at the cafe, and saved every penny I could. My manager, Sarah, understood my situation and gave me extra hours without me even asking. "You're going to burn yourself out," Jenny said when I came home exhausted, but I had no choice. I needed money for college, and working non-stop kept me from thinking about my parents' betrayal. They never called or texted. That was fine with me. What could they even say? Daniel sent one message asking where I was, but I didn't reply. Finally, Grandma came back from Hawaii. I felt a wave of relief. I had waited patiently, not wanting to ruin her trip. Now I could tell her everything. With shaking hands, I sent a message, "Grandma, I need to talk. Can we meet?" Her reply came fast, but instead of her usual warmth, it was just a link. My heart pounded as I clicked it. It was my mother's social media post. The ultimate betrayal. I stared at the screen in horror. My heart is breaking as I write this. Our beloved daughter, Jennifer, ran away from home, but what hurts even more is that before she left, she stole money from our store. We gave her everything, and this is how she repays us. We never thought our own child would do such a thing. I scrolled down, reading comments from family and friends. "I can't believe Jennifer would do this. After all you've done for her, so ungrateful. You should call the police. A thief is a thief, even if it's family." Then I saw my mother's reply. "No, we won't report her. Despite everything, we still love her. We just hope she does the right thing and returns what she took." My hand shook so badly I could barely hold my phone. Their bold lies and planned cruelty were more than I ever thought my parents could do. They had kicked me out of my home, and now they were trying to ruin my reputation too. I drove straight to Grandma's house, my heart pounding all the way. When she opened the door, her face was hard to read, but she stepped aside and let me in. "I don't believe that post for a second," she said before I could speak. "Sit down and tell me what's really going on." I started to explain, my words tumbling out. "I haven't worked at the store for 2 years, Grandma, not since I was 16. I've been working at Coffee Corner Cafe all this time," I said, my voice breaking. "I'm sorry I lied about it." "Go on," she urged quietly, her face growing darker with every word. I told her everything, about working for free from age 14, about how my parents refused to pay me because I supposedly owed them for living expenses, and about how they threatened me to stay silent. When I reached the part about them throwing me out on graduation night, Grandma's hands clenched into fists. "Those lying thieves," she spat. Jumping up from her chair, she went to her office and came back with a stack of papers. "Look at these payroll statements," she said. "According to these, you've been paid a salary from the store from the time you were 14 until now, even after you stopped working there. Where did that money go?" I looked at the numbers, thousands of dollars in my name, all going into an account I had never seen. My head spun as I tried to understand. Grandma picked up the phone immediately. "Thomas, I need you at the store right away. Do a full audit, every transaction, every account, every penny, and find out exactly how much money is missing from the register, the same amount they are accusing Jennifer of stealing." While Grandma made calls, I opened my laptop. With shaking hands, I began typing my response to Mom's post. "I've stayed quiet long enough. Here's the truth. I didn't steal anything, and I didn't run away. I was thrown out on graduation night because I refused to pay rent to my own parents. They never asked Daniel to pay rent. I haven't worked at the family store for 2 years. I've been working at Coffee Corner Cafe. My parents kicked me out with nowhere to go, and now they're trying to ruin my reputation." "Want proof?" asked Sarah Mitchell, the owner of Coffee Corner, "about my work schedule, paychecks, and performance. Ask why my parents waited 3 weeks to mention this theft, right after Grandma returned from vacation." I shared the post with my friends and coworkers. Within minutes, Sarah replied, "I can confirm everything Jennifer has said. She has been one of our most dedicated employees for the past 2 years, working after school and on weekends. Her honesty and work ethic are beyond question. These accusations are completely false." Within hours, social media exploded. Relatives who had condemned me days earlier now turned on my parents with anger. "How dare you throw your daughter out and then lie about her? You made her work for free since she was 14? You demanded rent from your own child on graduation night? What kind of parents are you?" My mother tried to explain, writing long posts that only made things worse. Every excuse was met with screenshots of Sarah's confirmation and angry responses from people who knew me all my life. My phone kept buzzing with calls from my parents, but I ignored them. I stayed at Grandma's house, watching as her auditor and his team went through years of the store's records. One evening, the auditor said, "Jennifer, we found something serious." The numbers were shocking. Year after year, my parents had been moving money from the store into their personal accounts by making fake vendor payments, inflating expenses, and keeping the extra cash. And the salary they claimed to have paid you? That money went straight into an account under their control. That total is over $500,000, the auditor said, hesitating. Grandma's face turned pale. She immediately called a family meeting at her house. I sat next to her in the living room as my parents and Daniel arrived, my father trying to look confident and my mother nervously clutching her purse. "Sit down," Grandma commanded. "Mother, I can explain," my father began. "Explain?" Grandma interrupted. "Explain how you stole money from me for years? Explain how you took your daughter's wages? Explain how you tried to blame her for theft to cover up your crimes?" She slammed the audit report on the table. $500,000. You stole $500,000 from me, while treating your daughter like a servant and throwing her out. My mother burst into tears. "Please, we can work this out." "Oh, we'll work it out, all right," Grandma snapped. "Either you pay back every penny you stole, or I press charges and you both go to jail for fraud and embezzlement." My father's face went blank. We don't have that kind of money." "Then sell your cars, your vacation home, everything. Take out loans for the rest." In the end, they had to sell their expensive cars, empty Daniel's college fund, and take massive loans. Even the beautiful house I'd been thrown out of was now heavily mortgaged. After the audit, Grandma held an emergency meeting at the store. "My son and his wife are no longer part of this business," she announced. I will never forget the look on my mother's face as she was escorted out of the store she once expected to inherit. Over dinner that evening, Grandma told me, "I have appointed Peter Davidson as temporary manager until you graduate. This store was always meant for someone who understands both business and ethics, and that's you, Jennifer." A week later, at a family meeting in her lawyer's office, Grandma signed new documents, officially removing my parents from her will. "The store and most of my assets will go to Jennifer," she declared, not because she was born into this family, but because she earned it through hard work and integrity. But Grandma's heart was still kind to Daniel. "Your brother will receive a portion of my estate," she said. "He is not responsible for your parents' actions. He's still my grandson." Daniel and I have grown closer since then. Without our parents pitting us against each other, we finally became true siblings. As for my parents, I haven't spoken to them since that day at Grandma's house. They still try to contact me, sending birthday cards, holiday messages, and attempts at reconciliation, but I send them all back unopened. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Next year, I'll graduate with my business degree. The store that was meant for my brother by birthright will now be mine by merit. And that expensive tableware store that started it all? Just wait until you see what I do with it. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more great stories. Don't forget to tap the notification bell, so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments, we love hearing from you. See you next time, and take care.